I'm Diane Rosignolo with NAREIT, and in conjunction with NAREIT's REIT Week, I'm here today with Ed Pitoniak, CEO of VICI Properties, Inc. Ed, how are you?
Very good, Diane.
One of VICI's key differentiators is the experience of making memories at your properties. While the world may look very different post-COVID, do you ever see people wanting these experiences less?
No, we really don't see people wanting these experiences less. As we all come back as a society from this pandemic, in fact, we see the need and the desire for these kinds of experiences really potentially being even bigger than ever. And we've already begun to see glimpses of that insofar as our first assets to reopened this past Monday in Louisiana, and immediately we saw lineups first thing in the morning of people who really wanted to come back and have this experience. There's an innate desire among people around the globe, but especially here in the US, to get out of the house, to go off and seek the experiences that really bring fulfillment to their lives. And the population that visits our properties are a risk-taking population by nature. It is what they engage in when they come to our properties. And while, of course, we want them to have a very safe and healthy experience, they are willing to be among those who are the earliest to try to return to normal.
Las Vegas in particular thrives on memory making and experiences. What concerns do you have about Vegas specifically and its overall reopening process, and how that might impact any of your properties or customers?
We think Las Vegas will make a very strong comeback over time. We expect within the next couple of days here, and of course right now we're in late May, we expect the governor to make an announcement authorizing the reopening of Las Vegas casinos. And what we're hearing from Caesars, with whom we partner on our two Las Vegas properties, Caesars Palace Las Vegas and Harrah's Las Vegas, what we're already hearing from Caesars are very strong booking trends, and what they're seeing among their database is a very strong interest in returning to Las Vegas. Las Vegas certainly has the infrastructure to bring a large volume of tourists back. Las Vegas also benefits as well from drawing so much of its business from California, and that is generally drive-to business. California already constituted about 23% of Las Vegas's visitation, and we would expect over the next year or two that to become an even bigger percentage. It will be an easy trip for Californians, and we expect that to be among the first wave of visitation to come back. But we think, again, the overall appeal of Las Vegas will endure and bring people back. Plus, we are incredibly impressed with the way in which our operators are re-engaging with their customers and the way in which they're planning to operate safely and give the guest a great experience.
VICI has always been committed to forthright dialogue with its key stakeholders. What have been the most important messages you've wanted to communicate with them over the course of the COVID-19 crisis?
Probably the most important message we've delivered over the last month or two is a message, frankly, of uncertainty, of being open and honest and candid with our investors and our other stakeholders, that we weren't at all sure when our assets would reopen. The good news is we're starting to see them reopen. And we weren't certain at all about what the pace of recovery would look like for our operators. We were very glad to collect all of our April rent. We were one of the few REITs in America that could claim 100% collection of April rent. And we are seeing very, very strong rent collection in May as well. So we've had positive messages to send around rent collection. We've been forthright about how uncertain we are. But what we've also been able to do is give our investors a great deal of assurance that VICI has a very strong liquidity position. We currently have over $300 million of cash on our balance sheet. We have $1 billion revolver that is totally undrawn and available to us. In addition to that, we already have $3.2 billion of proceeds set aside, $1.3 billion of equity and $2 billion of high yield debt that we raised back in January at a very attractive pricing to pay for our upcoming acquisition of Caesars properties as part of the Caesars Eldorado merger. So we've been able to give our investors a lot of comfort that VICI was prepared for heavy weather and should be able to come out of this period in a very strong position among American REITs.
How will the pandemic change the use of real estate in your sector?
That is a question that is hard to answer with certainty at this point. What we are seeing already is that our operators are obviously adapting to the operating standards under which they must reopen to make sure that people are properly spaced. The good news is that our real estate, our casino real estate, is very generous in its space to begin with. And we are very confident, I should say, that the operators will have the room to accommodate the guests who want to come back first, and they will be able to flex with the demand as it increases. I don't know that we'll see fundamental changes, though there will be changes around the margins. It's not clear, for example, what the future of the buffet is in terms of the casino F&B offering. And frankly, Tom Reeg, the CEO of El Dorado, who will be CEO of the new Caesars once El Dorado and Caesars merge, was very forthright last week in his earnings call, saying that if all the buffets in American gaming went away, he could not be happier, given how he feels about them as a margin contributor. So obviously that is a small example of the way in which people will have to examine every aspect of the real estate to make sure that it comports with the safety, hygiene, and public health practices we'll all be responsible for as we continue to deal with this virus.
Ed, thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure, Diane. Thank you.
For more from REIT Week, visit REIT.com.